comes, don't postpone it. When others doubt and out, you don't condone it.
Welcome back to Chatting with Liv. I'm your host, Olivia Rosario. This is where we sit down and talk and chat about a wide variety of topics. Let's get started because it is our time to shine.
Intuition upon the stars in the night that glisten. To you they listen, to be you instead of wishing. When your time comes, don't postpone it. When others doubt and out, you.
Good afternoon. It is October 29th here in Houston, Texas, and today's topic that we're chatting about is a little bit more controversial and a political debate, and that is gun control in the U.S. Now, I think this is a very good one to talk about, especially because there are many valid arguments and points made on both sides. For example, gun right advocates can often say that restrictions on guns are not the answer because they will cause more harm and increase gun violence instead of decreasing, which is essentially what we want to do. Now, I believe that they have a right to believe this because in the article, Can Gun Laws Save Lives?, Malcolm explains many countries who have implemented restrictions and in return, their violence has increased. For example, in 1998, Dublin enacted a Firearms Act to decrease handgun violence especially, and within the decade, the handgun violence rate actually doubled. So people have a reason, and why they say this is because other countries have done the same, and if it's countries like us, because it's not just Dublin, there are also other countries. Now, on the flip side, gun control people, our advocates, often would use the example that from Japan has some of the lowest gun violence rates in the world, and it's all as a result of the restrictions. Now, they do have the most restrictive gun control laws in the world, and I'm not going to say that we should implement as much restriction as them, but maybe go in that direction by implementing a few basic restrictions that we don't have. It is said that almost no one in Japan owns a gun because very few guns are allowed in the world or in the country, and we can't do that in the U.S. because that takes away from a constitutional right of the right to bear arms, which I think is very important for people to have and continue to have, and make sure that no restrictions take away from that constitutional right. I've grown up around guns, and I have lived in a house full of guns, so I have seen them, and I've learned how to use different of them. So I think it would be hypocritical of me to say that people should not be able to use or own guns, because that's not what I believe, and I like seeing people enjoy them because a lot of people use them more for hobbies. I think that the problem lies with the people that don't use them the right way, or they don't know how to use them, so then it ends up being used in the wrong way, because guns are one of those weapons that is very, very dangerous. Within the split second, you can accidentally shoot yourself because you thought the magazine was empty, or that there was no magazine in at all. But also, I think that we should have basic restrictions on who has access to guns, because as Ted Nugent said in his interview, he said it is the crazy people that tend to cause the most harm when they have a gun accessible, and his view is on mass shootings and especially school shootings, where we've seen a lot of these people are not people that don't have something wrong with them mentally. So not only should we be restricting who is able to get the guns, we should also be restricting gun shows, because gun shows it's very popular for people who cannot go into a gun store to get a gun to go into a gun show. Now, if you don't know what a gun show is, it's a kind of like a convention where any gun owner can take their gun and sell it to whoever they want to at any price, and they don't have to do any restriction. They don't have to get their license. They don't have to do anything. Now, that's where I think part of the problem lies, is you have no record of these people buying a gun, and if they are known mentally ill, they can easily go kind of around to get a gun without having to go directly to a gun store. So I think that if we go ahead and ban gun shows or place restrictions or limit who can hold a gun show or go to a gun show, I think then that we will also see some effect, and maybe even a positive effect, because here we're looking for gun violence to decrease. That is our ultimate goal in the United States, and everyone can agree on that one. Now, a spokesperson for the NRA, which is a very political lobbying group and who is strongly pro-gun rights, and they advocate for pro-gun rights, the spokesperson Wayne LaPierre, after the Sandy Hook school shooting in 2012, stated the only thing that stops a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. So his idea is that more guns will solve the problem of gun violence. I think this is very questionable. I don't think that we should be having more guns out in our community, because you don't always know who has a gun, who the wrong person is with a gun. Now, not to say that guns are bad, because I do not believe that. Once again, I think guns are very good. Many people use them for hobbies, but the people holding and using the gun is when it becomes dangerous. Even if we think that they are a good person, the minute that something goes wrong, you never know how they can react, and especially with a gun in their hand, it can be very dangerous. To go further, in LaPierre's speech, he also added that we should add more guns in schools. He wants more armed security guards, more armed police in our schools, and I disagree with that totally. I go to school with where I see about 10 security guards a day, and not that it's unsettling, but I think that if I knew they were armed, it would be a little bit more unsettling, because again, you don't know who the wrong person with a gun is. Even though security guards their jobs are to do good, it also goes with the fact that not everyone gets good training. Very few people get legitimate good training that they would be able to keep us safe with the gun. I think many people have also discussed, should teachers be able to be armed? And again, I disagree. I do not think, furthermore, and especially I don't think teachers should have guns at all, because that's where I think that the learning environment where kids are supposed to learn and be comfortable, I think that part would definitely create an unsettling environment, especially if we're talking about elementary schools and even junior highs where the kids are young. We are not talking about 16, 17, even 18-year-olds. We're talking about ages 5, 10, 7, all of those. Those small young kids should not be around that many guns, because it would definitely impair the learning environment, and schools are a place where kids can go to be comfortable and learn, and that would definitely not allow that. But what do you guys think? Do you think that we should have more guns and have guns in schools? And if you do, how? Because of course there's many ways that many people see this. Thank you for tuning in once again to Chatting with Liv, featuring Livia Rosario. Make sure to tune in again to hear more. And now it's our time to shine.
Own path with your own vision.